cool wave coming through the upper Midwest, bringing in severe weather, but we also have flash flooding for California and Arizona. Good morning, I'm meteorologist Pew. Today is September 2nd, 2025. So today for severe weather, we have a marginal risk, or 1 out of 5, stretching from the Dakotas and Minnesota. And what this entails is that we only have a 5% chance to see an isolated risk for winds greater than 60 miles per hour and also large hail. You can expect a long band of storms stretching from the Dakotas, Minnesota, and even Wisconsin around 3 to 4 p.m. Central Time. And these storms will travel southeastward and will diminish their severity overnight, but then ramp up by tomorrow afternoon, which we'll talk about in tomorrow's report. Now, in terms of flash flooding, the Weather Prediction Center's issue is slight risk both in California and Arizona today. Some places like Southern California already seen showers this morning, but places all the way from Oregon, California, Arizona, Nevada are going to see some storms start ramping up around 1 p.m. Pacific time, or that's 2 p.m. Mountain Time. Isolated rainfall totals could go from half an inch to 1.5 inches of rain. And I do want to do a shout out for places like Kentucky all the way to Mississippi, where you guys are maybe already seeing convection this morning, and we're going to see some more this afternoon. Isolated rainfall totals can go from 1 to 2 inches of rainfall. Now, I also want to shout out the Atlantic as well, as we have a tropical disturbance where there's a 30% chance of something forming in the next 48 hours and a 70% chance of something forming in the next 7 days. Now, the area of formation is pretty broad, so if it's below this latitude, then places like Puerto Rico in the States may have more risk, but if it's above this latitude, then we may see what happened with Aaron, where it just went into the Atlantic and just curved. And so speaking of tropical weather, if we go to the opposite side, to the Pacific, we do have Hurricane Kiko. So for places like Hawaii, this is something to look out for, but it's still very, very far away. And Kiko's path is leaning towards Hawaii just a little bit. And we have Tropical Depression 12, which is adjacent to the Gulf of California. So if a ridge does persist in the southwest, this may bring more monsoonal rain for places like Arizona and New Mexico by this weekend. And so looking at 500 millibars of midway through the troposphere, this is exactly why we have a lot of rain in the west right now. It's because of this ridge that's been sitting in the southwest and it pulled in a lot of mid-level moisture from the Gulf of California. But even with all this rain, places like Oregon have a dry thunderstorm risk, where lightning may pose a risk for fire. And if we look at the Midwest, we do see there's a lot of shear, but it's actually lagging behind where the storms are going to be forming today. But even though it's lagging behind, it's bringing in a lot of fast wind speed, which is going to be bringing in a lot of cool air from the north. And so if we go down to the surface, the main reason why these storms are going to be forming, because we have a pretty strong cold front coming through, and that's going to be providing surface lifts. This cold front is going to be responsible for places like the upper Midwest, and Great Lakes region to have highs in the 50s and 60s. So if you thought last week felt like fall, this will definitely feel like fall. And then for the Tennessee Valley, we have a low pressure to the west and a high pressure to the east, and low pressure to counterclockwise flow and high pressure to clockwise flow, and it's bringing in both moisture from the south. And accompanying with that low, we have a stationary front, and it's providing consistent surface lifts. And that's why we have a